swung away out into the deep, and he hasn't picked it up, the man in the deep at all. That goes for 4.
Sometimes happens at the Wanderers where you find it difficult to pick it up out of the crowd. That's exactly what happened now to JP Duminy. He was at deep mid-wicket on the boundary. Mitchell Johnson played the slog sweep, but JP Duminy had no idea where the ball was, and that certainly is a disconcerting feeling.
What it's done is make Johnson's intentions against spin absolutely apparent. He's with 10 and potentially 11. He's going to take on that onside boundary. Harris is changing his angle. He's going round the wicket. In the air he goes. He swings it out into the deep and away for 4 again.
Same result, same gap. So good batting by Mitchell Johnson. Frustration continue for South Africa. It's Mitchell Johnson's highest score in Test cricket. So a milestone for him. Very handy contribution.
Big hit into the deep and all the way. He's taking on Harris, and he is murdering him. 14 off the first half of the over.
Ball travels a long way at altitude. Mitchell Johnson hit the slog sweep perfectly. There are 4 fielders now on that leg side boundary for protection for Harris. But when you hit them like that, you can have as many fielders as you like, and it's not going to help.
A lot wider now.
Superb effort by Mitchell Johnson. 3 sixes, 7 fours. There's the fielders on the leg side boundary. Protection for Harris that we've been talking about. 4 of them.
Up in the air it goes. Is it going all the way? Yes, it is. Another one.
Well, that's a monster this time. That's gone a long, long way. Over mid-on. That was a huge hit.
Wow, what an over this is. 20 from it. 2 fours, 2 sixes. There's the biggest of the lot. Last ball of the over. Is there more? Yes, there is. He's got all of this. This is going miles. It's out the stadium.
Mitchell Johnson has just murdered Paul Harris in this over. Magnificent hitting. Johnson moving to 83 of just 124 balls. It was all going along very well for Paul Harris, and suddenly his figures have been spoilt by this over. The last one was another terrific strike.
Right out of the middle, right out of the stadium. He's a strong fellow, is Mitchell Johnson. Look at that. Full swing, straight out of the meat, and how far has that gone? There's almost a wry smile appearing on the face of Mark Boucher. What wonderful hitting by Mitchell Johnson. Swinging away the first for 4. Another for 4. Then he got a bead on Harris and started to swing him the aerial route into the stands. Lovely, clean hitting. The last of which goes the furthest. Watch this. Out of the stadium.
So the ball's gone. They need a new one. Billy Bowden having a look. Maria Erasmus, the umpire, bringing out the ball. So the Australian dressing room, they'll be delighted. They have batted very well. The man in front there, Marcus North, making 100 on debut. What a day it's been for him.
You can almost sense Kepler just in the space of this first day and a half. All the pressure that the Australians arrived under, having lost their first series against South Africa in Australia. South Africa favourites at home to take the mantle of the mace holder, #1 in the world. Well, Australia have shown they come here, they're not going to lie down, and they are posting a big score here. And they've done it from a really awkward position on that first morning. And all the pressure is switching now onto South Africa. How will they cope? There's a different air about that dressing room. One of growing confidence. This will please the skipper, Ricky Ponting, no end. Here's Morkel. He goes to Siddle.
Pressure's on Paul Harris, but the pressure's on South Africa. They'll have to bat well. They did so in Australia. The Australian bowling attack never really bothered the South African batsmen too much on the recent trip down under, so they'll feel confident that they could match the Australian first innings total.
Loose.
What a day he's had, Mitchell Johnson. He bowled quite beautifully in that test series in Australia and contributed there with the bat, but not to this extent. Just to look at where he scored his runs. Those big hits all over the leg side. A couple of good shots as well through the offside, but his batting really has come on a long way.
Oh, good piece of bowling.
Mitchell Johnson needs somebody to stay with him. He needs another 17 to get his first test 100, so he'll be hoping that Siddle could hang around with him. Hilfenhaus is no great shakes with a bat.
Tell you what, if he gets the strike against Kepler, he's not going to wait too long. He's going to play all sorts of shots.
I don't reckon Paul Harris will bowl again, do you?
No, I wouldn't have thought so either. I would have thought it's going to be seam up from the golf course end hereafter. Oh, 4 runs wide of Gully. Siddle joins the party, gets off the mark with a boundary.
The start of the day's play, the Australian camp said that they'd be happy with 330, 350. Well, they wouldn't have thought that they'd be up to nearly the 450 mark, so it's gone beyond expectations for them. This is a good shot, just a deflection past Gully, no third man in position.
Push and go for the single. Smith hits. Trouble. There is going to be a referral. The mood of the camp is not confident, the fielding side that is, but it's worth a look, says Billy Bowden. Asad Rauf will adjudicate.
It's worth a look, but the initial feeling is that Siddle probably just got in, and he did.
Safe indeed, just, but in the end, judged to a nicety.
Good pick up and throw by Graham Smith. Unfamiliar position for him at mid-on. Siddle just snuck in there by a couple of inches.
It was interesting when in the over he was taking the single. The groan, as not out, appears on the big screen. There's one ball remaining. Well, Mitchell Johnson, you would have thought Siddle would have just seen the over off and allowed Johnson to have the bulk of the next over. So 83 not out. Mitchell Johnson. Oh, and he's going to get runs down the onside and be content with just a